The crimson dust of Veloria swirled around Marcus Dane's boots as he surveyed the carnage before him. The sky burned orange with the planet's twin suns setting on the horizon, casting long shadows across the battlefield where bodies lay scattered like broken dolls. His rifle felt heavy in his hands, though he'd carried it for 3 years across 4 different worlds. Today, somehow, it felt heavier. Sector 7 clear. Jorin's voice crackled through his earpiece. One survivor, female. She's asking for you specifically. Marcus frowned. For me? How does she even know my name? No idea, but she's refusing to talk to anyone else. Says she'll only surrender to the soldier with the scarred hand. Instinctively, Marcus glanced at his left hand, where a plasma burn had left a distinctive mark during the battle at Crimson Ridge. It had become his identifier. Though he'd never thought the enemy would take note, he made his way through the ruins of what had once been a Valorian outpost. The architecture was beautiful, even in destruction-curved walls that seemed to grow from the ground itself. Windows shaped like teardrops, now shattered and weeping shards of crystalline glass. The Valorians had built with artistry that humans had never quite mastered. She knelt in the center of a collapsed courtyard, surrounded by fallen pillars wrapped in silver vines. Her armor was dented and scorched, revealing patches of skin that shimmered like pearl beneath the dying light. Long hair the color of moonlight fell past her shoulders, matted with dust and something darker. Blood, though it ran violet instead of red. When she looked up at him, her eyes struck him first large and luminous, the color of amethyst, with vertical pupils that dilated as she focused on his face. Despite the dirt and exhaustion etched into her features, she was stunning in a way that made his breath catch. "You're the one they call Dane," she said, her voice melodic even roughened by thirst and fatigue. The soldier with mercy in his reputation. "Mercy is a luxury in war," Marcus replied, though he didn't raise his weapon. "Who are you?" "Thera Moonwhisper, daughter of the eastern provinces." She shifted, and he noticed the deep gash across her thigh, violet blood pooling beneath her. "I offer myself to you, human. Take me as your captive, your companion, your whatever your people call it. Just don't let me die here like discarded refuse." Marcus felt Jorin tense beside him. His friend had appeared silently, weapon trained on the alien woman. "It's a trick," Jorin muttered. "They don't surrender. They fight to the last breath." But Thera's gaze never left Marcus's face. "Not a trick, a tradition. Among my people, when a warrior recognizes superior skill and wishes to live, they may offer themselves in ... service. To warm your nights, to share your burdens, to be bound until you release the claim." Heat crept up Marcus's neck. "That's not how we do things." "Then how do you do things?" Thera asked, tilting her head. "You kill us all? Even those who wish to stop fighting?" She gestured weakly at the destruction around them. "This war has taken my home, my family, my future. All I have left is my life, and I'm offering it to you. Isn't that worth something?" Jorin shifted uncomfortably. "Marcus, we have orders. No prisoners unless authorized by—" "I know the orders," Marcus cut him off. He studied Thera's face, searching for deception and finding only desperate honesty. "Can you walk?" Surprise flickered across her features. Yes, with help." Marcus slung his rifle over his shoulder and extended his scarred hand. Thera stared at it for a moment before placing her own hand in his. Her skin was cool to the touch, smooth as polished stone, and her fingers were longer than his, more delicate. He pulled her up, feeling her lean heavily against him as her injured leg threatened to give out. "This is insane," Jorin hissed. "You can't just—" "I'm taking responsibility," Marcus said firmly. "She's my prisoner. I'll handle any consequences." As they made their way back to the transport, Thera spoke softly. "In my culture, What I've offered is considered sacred. A bond between warriors that transcends enmity. You don't have to consummate it as tradition dictates, but the offer alone binds us. My life is yours now, Marcus Dane. My life is my own, Marcus replied, though his pulse quickened at her proximity. And so is yours. I'm not claiming you as some kind of prize. Then what am I to you? He didn't have an answer. She was supposed to be the enemy one of the beings his government had painted as savage, unreasonable, incapable of coexistence. But the woman leaning against him felt decidedly real, decidedly vulnerable, and decidedly not like the monsters from the propaganda films. You're someone who chose to live, he said finally. That takes a different kind of courage than choosing to die. A small smile touched her lips. Perhaps there's hope for understanding between our kinds after all. The transport back to the settlement took 2 hours. Thera sat across from Marcus, her wound hastily bandaged by Joran, who worked with clinical efficiency despite his obvious disapproval. She didn't complain about the pain, though Marcus noticed how her hands trembled slightly and how she bit her lower lip when the transport hit rough terrain. Tell me about your world, Marcus said, surprising himself. Joran shot him a warning look that he ignored. Thera's eyes brightened slightly. Veloria? Was beautiful. The crystal forests that sing in the wind. The aurora lakes that glow green at night. Cities carved from living rock that grow stronger with age rather than crumbling. Her voice caught. Your people saw resources. We saw home. Guilt twisted in Marcus's gut. He'd been told they were liberating this planet, bringing civilization to primitives. But Thera spoke like someone whose paradise had been invaded, not someone rescued from barbarism. I'm sorry, he said quietly. Sorry enough to help stop it? She challenged. I'm just a soldier. I follow orders. So did I, Thera replied. Until today. Until I decided my survival mattered more than pride or duty. She leaned forward, wincing at the movement. The question is, Marcus Dane, what will you decide matters most? Before he could answer, the transport shuddered to a halt. They'd arrived at Settlement 7, a sprawling complex of prefabricated buildings surrounded by defensive barriers. As the doors opened, curious faces turned toward them, human faces registering shock at seeing an alien alive and relatively unharmed. This is going to be complicated, Joran muttered. Marcus helped Thera down from the transport, acutely aware of every eye upon them. She stumbled slightly, and he caught her around the waist, feeling the coolness of her skin through her damaged armor. Stay close to me, he said, and let me do the talking. I've placed my life in your hands, Thera replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Where else would I go? As they walked through the settlement toward the administrative building, Marcus felt the weight of his decision settling over him. He'd saved an enemy soldier's life based on instinct and a desperate plea. Now he had to figure out what came next, how to protect her from those who would see her dead, how to navigate the strange cultural expectations she'd invoked, and most troubling of all, how to handle the unexpected pull he felt toward this alien woman who'd bound her fate to his dot. The twin suns finally dipped below the horizon, plunging Veloria into its brief but total darkness. In a few hours, the planet's 3 moons would rise, bathing everything in silver light. But for now, in this moment of complete night, Marcus walked forward with Thera at his side, neither of them certain what dawn would bring. The medical wing of Settlement 7 smelled of antiseptic and recycled air. Marcus stood outside the examination room, arms crossed, while human medics worked on Thera's injuries. Through the translucent door, he could see her silhouette on the examination table, sitting unnaturally still as they cleaned and sealed her wounds. You're making a mistake. The voice belonged to Kasha Reed, the settlement administrator. She approached with sharp clicks of her boots against the metal floor, her expression carved from disapproval. That creature should be in a holding cell, not receiving medical care like she's one of us. She's not a creature, Marcus said evenly. And she surrendered. We have protocols for prisoners. Prisoners of war. Yes, not. Kasia gestured vaguely toward the door. Whatever arrangement you've made with it. Her, Marcus corrected, his jaw tightening. Her name is Thera. Kasia's eyes narrowed. 3 days on transport, and you're already humanizing the enemy. This is exactly why fraternization policies exist. Before Marcus could respond, the door slid open. A medic emerged, wiping her hands on a cloth. She's stable. The wound was deep but clean. Her physiology is fascinating accelerated healing factors we've never documented before. She's asking for you. Marcus entered the room, leaving Kasia fuming in the corridor. Thera sat on the edge of the examination table, now dressed in standard gray clothing that hung awkwardly on her frame. Her moonlight hair had been cleaned and braided over one shoulder. Without the armor and grime of battle, she looked younger, more vulnerable, and somehow even more striking. They treated me kindly, she said, surprise evident in her voice. I expected ... less. Not all humans are monsters, Marcus replied. I'm beginning to see that. She slid down from the table, testing her weight on her injured leg. What happens now? Do I sleep in a cage? Get interrogated until I break? You'll have quarters. Small, but private. He paused. Though you'll be monitored. For everyone's safety? Including mine? She met his gaze directly. I heard the woman in the corridor. She wants me dead. Marcus couldn't deny it. Kasia lost family to your people's resistance. She's not alone in her feelings. And you? Thera moved closer, and he caught that scent again, something like frost on flowers. What do you feel, Marcus Dane? He should have stepped back, maintained professional distance. Instead, he found himself studying the way her eyes caught the harsh fluorescent light, turning them from amethyst to something closer to violet fire. Confused, he admitted. You're supposed to be the enemy. Everything I was taught says I should feel nothing but duty toward you. But you don't. It wasn't a question. But I don't. A moment passed between them, charged with unspoken possibility. Then Thera smiled small and sad. In my culture, honesty is the first gift between bonded warriors. Thank you for that gift. Marcus's quarters were adjacent to Thera's, separated by a thin wall and a locked connecting door. He lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, hyper-aware of her presence on the other side. Sleep eluded him as his mind replayed the day's events, her ply on the battlefield, the cool touch of her hand, the way she'd looked at him in the medical wing. A soft sound reached his ears, singing. Thera's voice drifted through the wall, achingly beautiful, in a language he didn't understand. The melody was mournful, rising and falling like wind through canyons. Before he could reconsider, Marcus rose and went to the connecting door. He pressed the intercom button. Thera, you okay? The singing stopped. A pause, then her voice came through the speaker. I didn't mean to disturb you. It's a mourning song. For those who fell today. Your enemies too? All warriors deserve to be mourned, she replied softly. The dead don't care which side they fought for. Marcus made a decision that would have infuriated Kasia. He overrode the lock and opened the door. Thera sat cross-legged on her bed, bathed in the blue glow of Veloria's first moon rising outside her window. She looked up at him, surprise and something else flickering across her features. You can see them from here, Marcus said, gesturing to the window where 2 more moons were beginning to rise. The moons of your world. 3 sisters watching over us, Thera murmured. My mother used to say they were warrior goddesses who loved each other so much, They chose to share the sky rather than reign alone. She patted the bed beside her. "Will you watch with me?" He should have refused, should have maintained boundaries. Instead, he found himself sitting beside her, close enough to feel the coolness radiating from her skin. "Tell me about your family," he said. Farah's expression softened and shadowed. "My mother was a weaver. She created tapestries that told stories, our history, our myths, our dreams. My father was a terraformer, someone who helped maintain the crystal forests." She drew her knees up, wrapping her arms around them. "They're gone now. Your people's initial bombardment destroyed the eastern provinces." The guilt that had been simmering in Marcus's chest since the transport intensified. "I didn't know. We were told your military was using civilian areas as shields." "Perhaps some did," Farah acknowledged. "War makes monsters of us all, doesn't it?" She turned to look at him. "But not you. Not yet. You still have mercy in your eyes. What made you single me out?" Marcus asked. "On the battlefield. Why me specifically?" Farah's lips curved into a slight smile. "I'd seen you before. 3 weeks ago, during the skirmish at Whispering Valley. You spared a child who wandered into the crossfire, carried her to safety before rejoining the fight. Warriors on both sides speak of the human with the scarred hand who doesn't kill needlessly." Marcus remembered that day. A Valorian child, no more than 5, frozen in terror as plasma fire lit up the sky around her. He'd acted on instinct, not heroism. "Anyone would have done the same," he said, "but they didn't. You did." Farah reached out slowly, giving him time to pull away, and took his scarred hand in both of hers. Her touch was cool and gentle as she traced the raised tissue with her fingertips. "This mark is why I'm alive. Why I had hoped that one human might see me as more than a target." The intimacy of the moment wrapped around them like the moonlight streaming through the window. Marcus knew he should leave, but couldn't bring himself to move. "Your culture," he said, his voice rougher than intended. "This bond you spoke of. What does it actually mean?" Farah didn't release his hand. "It means I've placed my survival in your care. In return, I offer my trust, my companionship, my—" She hesitated. "Warmth, if desired. It's not slavery. I can refuse if you demand something unconscionable. But traditionally, it includes sharing space, sharing burdens, and yes, sharing physical comfort. And if I don't want that? The physical part? Then we share what you're comfortable with." Her thumb stroked across his scarred palm. "The bond is about trust, Marcus. Intimacy takes many forms. For some bonded pairs, it's simply knowing someone will watch your back. For others, ... She trailed off, her eyes meeting his with unmistakable meaning. Marcus felt heat rise, despite the coolness of her touch. "This is happening too fast. Is it?" Farah asked. "Or have we both been feeling this since the moment our eyes met on that battlefield, and we're only now admitting it?" Before Marcus could answer, a sharp knock sounded at his door. They both froze. Farah quickly released his hand as Marcus stood. "Marcus? You in there?" Joran's voice carried through the door. "We need to talk." Marcus glanced back at Farah, who'd drawn her knees up again, suddenly looking small and uncertain. "I'll be back," he mouthed. He stepped through the connecting door, securing it behind him before opening his main entrance. Joran stood in the corridor, his expression grave. "There's a problem," Joran said without preamble. Communication came through from Valorian command. "They want to negotiate a prisoner exchange." "What?" "They don't even know we have." "They know," Joran interrupted. "Thera Moonwhisper isn't just some random soldier. She's betrothed to Vorik Starshield, one of their most decorated warriors. And he's demanding her return." Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. "Betrothed? Apparently it's a big deal." Alliances between provinces, political implications, the whole package. Joran studied his friend's face. You didn't know. She didn't mention it. Because she's playing you, Marcus. This whole surrender thing? It's probably an intelligence operation. Get close to you, learn our weaknesses, feed information back to... No. Marcus cut him off, though doubt had begun to creep in. She's not she wouldn't she? Joran's voice softened. Look, I know she's beautiful and exotic, and you're feeling something. But she's still the enemy. And now we have confirmation that she's valuable to them. That makes her dangerous. After Joran left, Marcus stood in his empty quarters, mind racing. He wanted to dismiss his friend's suspicions, but the revelation about Thera's betrothal stung. Why hadn't she mentioned it? What else might she be hiding? He returned to the connecting door, but didn't open it. Instead, he pressed his forehead against the cool metal, listening. Silence at first. Then softly, Thera's voice. I know you're there, Marcus. I can feel your uncertainty through the wall. You're engaged, he said, not making it a question. A long pause. I was. An arrangement made by my father before the war. I never loved Vorik. I barely knew him. That's not something you thought to mention? Would you have listened if I had? Thera's voice was closer now, just on the other side of the door. On that battlefield, I had seconds to convince you I was worth sparing. Mentioning a political betrothal I despised didn't seem relevant. They want you back. I know. Her voice was heavy. Vorik was always possessive. He'll see my surrender as betrayal, as dishonor. Marcus opened the door. Thera stood just inside, her amethyst eyes glistening with unshed tears. Are you going to send me back? She asked quietly. He should have said yes. Should have followed protocol, avoided complications, protected himself from whatever game she might be playing. Instead, he found himself reaching out, his scarred hand cupping her cool cheek. No, he said. Not unless you want to go. Thera leaned into his touch, and a single violet tear traced down her face. I want to stay. With you. Even if you never accept the bond fully, even if we remain just ... this. Whatever this is. This is insane, Marcus whispered. But he didn't pull away. Insanity might be all that saves us, Thera replied, covering his hand with her own. Because the sane path leads only to more death. Outside, the 3 moons reached their zenith, flooding the room with silver light. In that moment, with an alien woman's cool cheek against his palm and the weight of impossible choices pressing down on him, Marcus understood that he'd already made his decision back on that battlefield. He just hadn't admitted it until now. The next morning brought news that would change everything. Vorik's starshield wasn't just demanding Thera's return, he was threatening to escalate attacks on human settlements if she wasn't. Released within 3 days, and Marcus had 72 hours to decide whether duty or his heart would win.